Hi, my name is Esther Carder and I chair the Moore Media Global Group. And today I'm talking to Gurvir Cheema. So, Gurvir is a partner at Moore Kingston Smith and he's a specialist accountant in the film TV industry and particularly focusing on film and TV tax credits. And Gurvir recently went to the Cannes Film Festival, lucky him, and he's going to share a few insights with us. So, Gurvir, what does a Cannes trip look like for an accountant then?
Well, firstly, Esther, thanks so much for that lovely introduction. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, there's worse places to be in the world than Cannes in the film festival. So it's one of the nicer perks of being an accountant. And in most cases, individuals that we tend to deal with in Cannes or organisations that we deal with in Cannes tend to be financial institutes or producers. It's always known as the hub of taking your film and trying to raise finance and part of that involves the lovely UK tax credit regime that we have here, and therefore we being specialists in those sectors, we represent in Moore Kingston Smith at those events to help with financiers talk through the creative industry jargon.
So, how did this year, did it differ at all to last year? The sort of the vibes out there?
Yeah, good question, to be fair. I mean, last year was brilliant in the sense that we had two of the films that we looked after. So for selfish reasons, we had a film called Bird and Kind of Kindness, which was lovely to see that, a production you were involved in premiering at the Cannes Film Festival. But outside of that, I did feel like the independent film market did suffer sort of last year. Not everyone was there. It was a few years after COVID and it did definitely slow down. It wasn't quite as ambient as it used to be. And that was one of the lovely things about this year. It did feel like Cannes was back to its normal self. You had banners for a lot of the distributors that were there to try and buy film, a lot more presence from independent producers, and not just UK, that was national. So I'd say the biggest thing was more the buzz of Cannes was back this year, which was nice to see. And the weather, I think, is the other thing. Is there were a few years that notorious it does rain a couple of times, but this year was lovely and sunny, which is great.
Sunshine.
Yeah.
So, what were the key sort of takeaway points from your visit then, Gurvir?
Yeah, very good question. And I did say it was much busier this year than it was in previous years. And I'd like to think on the UK side of things, the big driver for that is the new independent film tax credit. So that seemed to be the sort of word on everyone's mouth, especially the financiers. As I say, a lot of the events that we were at was to try and sort of educate individuals on how the IFTC works and why it's great for the UK. And it definitely is, a great thing for the UK. One of the markets that has really suffered over the years has been making independent film. In the UK, although we make great TV, TV has made independent film very expensive. With that high-end television and sort of the inward investment we've had from the US studios, which is great news for the UK. But as I say, that area that has suffered was independent film. And that IFTC seems like it's now in place to try and help those independent producers that really need that extra credit to start making film again. So those the future of the creative talent of the UK. Is those individuals making those smaller low budget films. And you say smaller low budget, it's anything up until 23.5 million. So still quite significant amounts. And they were sort of back in terms of in Cannes trying to finance films, knowing that now you have to source fewer finance, with that uplifted rate. On the flip side, speaking to independent producers, whilst the IFTC is great news, as well as, sorry, I forgot to mention, there's also a VFX uplift, which is also there to help, as an extra incentive for film in the UK. Although you can't claim the IFTC and VFX both, but we'll save that for another conversation. One of the other things that producers did tend to mention in Cannes was that although the IFTC is great news for them in terms of making film, current market in the UK is such that they do receive great offers from streamers and studios, which means it does hinder them going towards that film model. They still feel that although it's a great uplift, getting a film made and sort of getting a distributor on board, it's just the lifespan of a film there's still that uncertainty. How much is it going to create in cinema?
So, what was the most fun moment while you're out there, Gurvir?
I'd love to say that we got scouted for a film or something along those lines, but it is very back to back. So when we're over there, you do squeeze in your meetings. Yes, the sun is great, the evenings are nice, but you are back to back, so it's quite intense meetings. But the nice thing about Cannes, I'd say, is the fact that we do go out as a team, and you don't spend that time together as much as you would, whilst you're in the office. And it's nice to get them involved, show them the projects that they're working on and the success they're having out there. And they also got to walk the red carpet. I think one of our individuals actually was very close to actually getting themselves into the premiere. I think they almost got taken as one of the actors. So moments like that, I'd say, were definitely the most, the funnest part of our trip to Cannes.
Well, thank you so much, Gurvir, for taking the time to share your insights from Cannes with us. That was most interesting. Thank you.